I think what's the toughest part is also one of the most interesting part because for me, when you write scripts, it's all the voices in your head putting it out. Now you have to concern about someone else throwing out lines to you, and when you're writing it out, you don't know how the person will receive yours or how they will throw something back at you. So it was really, you have to think on the feet at that point of time because we also have time constraints and all to get the whole thing working. So it's really difficult when throwing things out, and if somebody don't catch the ball well, it'll be like, what are you doing here? Yeah.
And I think it's a very vital thing to want to sit back and plan.
Yep. And when you write, you usually write in the privacy of your own room or whatever. So for this process, we had to write our drafts in front of everybody. So of course, there's that element of insecurity. Am I writing something stupid, or am I writing something? What am I writing? And sometimes that kind of limited us from being completely free with what we want to say.
I think a lot of it is writing. I'm not really a writer, but it's quite interesting, this process, because...
As an editorial strategy, I structured Understudy to have 11 scenes, just like Undercover.
But scene 11 in Understudy must also reference the ambiguity that is scene 11 of Undercover.
There should be echoes and refrains from Undercover in Understudy. To me, that's continuity.
The logical conclusion to Understudy must be the cultural medallion presentation ceremony,
where the question of whether Tiang will accept the prize or not is answered.
Will he even show up?
Or will he stage a dramatic snub as a final protest?
By the time the group wrote and read scene 10, we were pretty sure that Tiang would be a no-show.
I can say with some authority that Tiang would show up.
And I conceived of the ending as one final voice. Who will have the final say?
So it will end with a monologue.
But I wasn't sure who will get the final say. So I asked 5 writers to write a final monologue for scene 11, set in the cultural medallion presentation ceremony itself.
5 separate briefs were sent to the respective writers to write monologues. They were to write without knowledge of who else was asked to write, and should write for the characters per se.
This was my brief. Jane has lost Chiang, Albert and Derek, and has made a new ally in Vikram. She feels that she no longer has any ties or reservations. The day before the medallion ceremony, she receives an unexpected invitation to dinner with Verlaine. Jane accepts and they meet. At the ceremony, she receives a message on her phone from Chiang that simply says, "Goodbye, Angel." She makes the decision to go to the podium and diffuse the situation.
This was my brief. Albert has had a few days to consider Derek's and Vikram's proposal. He is torn between 2 paths. He receives in the mail and from an anonymous sender Derek's original report for the Committee for the Cultivation of Soul. He devours it and reads it several times. The day of the ceremony, Jane is ill and Albert is sent as a proxy. Chiang doesn't show up and Albert has to meet the press.
This was my brief. Vikram has just received confirmation that he will be appointed the permanent secretary for the Ministry of Cultural Affairs. He has every intention to install Albert as the deputy secretary if he comes on board. He is prepped and ready to make a splash at the ministry and has been invited to attend the medallion ceremony. He has just received intel that Tiang is not coming and has left no word about a representative. Vikram suggests to Jane that he defuse the situation and head to the podium.
This was my brief. After scene 10, Derek remains upbeat about the future and insists on being the optimist. He has a commiseration drink with Tiang, who tells him that he is tired of everything and wants to disappear since his country is so keen on erasing him and everything that is dear to him. Derek offers him the means for self-erasure. Tiang is grateful, and before he says goodbye, he asks Derek to end Tiang's story for him at the medallion ceremony. Derek attends the ceremony as Tiang's appointed representative and goes to the podium after Tiang's name is called.
This was my brief. In scene 8, Sophie recognizes the ambition and the intent that Jane has to succeed. She is repulsed and intrigued by it at the same time. At the end of the play, Chiang has asked Sophie to make the decision for him. He tells her that she can accept it on his behalf or reject it on his behalf. It makes no difference to him, because he intends to reinvent himself as a totally different person and artist and never step foot in his country again and will never contact Sophie again. Sophie asked him if it'll be okay if she simply doesn't show up. Chiang smiles, says nothing, gives her a gentle peck on her forehead, a big hug, and walks away.